first in a series of videos that will help you to improve your performance, but also try to avoid injury throughout your marathon training journey. My name is Danielle. I'm a sports therapist. I've been working with marathon runners for a number of years now, and I really enjoy working alongside runners throughout their journey, but also I have a specialist interest in injuries, running injuries. So this particular episode, this is episode 1. This particular episode, we're going to be focusing on the things that you can do prior to starting your marathon training journey in order to try to prevent injuries from occurring throughout that journey. And a big part of it is planning. So the 3 things that we're going to focus on are rehabilitation of old injuries, putting a strength training plan in place, and planning out your routes. So first of all, rehabilitating old injuries. The biggest reason for injuries occurring are previous injuries. A lot of the time, previous injuries have been poorly rehabilitated or not rehabilitated at all, and you're left with range of motion deficits, strength deficits, and perhaps compensatory movement patterns. And all of those things contribute to either the injury occurring again or an injury occurring somewhere else due to overload from those compensatory mechanisms. So it is really, really important to get old injuries rehabilitated properly first. So my first piece of advice would be to try to seek a specialist healthcare professional to do an assessment on old injuries, to actually see if there is anything that needs to be addressed before you really start ramping up the miles. The second thing is strength training. If you haven't already got some strength training built into your program, or you're not accustomed to doing strength training, it's really worth researching or perhaps seeking professional advice as to how to put some strength training into your program. Now is an excellent time to do that before you increase the miles. Don't be in such a rush to run. Get some strength training put in first. So my reasoning for that is running economy. It's what we call running economy. To Google it, have a research, but basically the premise is that every single stride requires less effort. So the stronger you are, the easier each stride becomes, the less stress that it puts on joints with each stride. So really basic squat, deadlift, lunge, calf raises. Those main 4 exercises, if you get some good strength training in a few weeks, literally 3 weeks, 4 weeks, prior to really starting to hit your training program, then you'll put yourself in a much better position to be able to increase that mileage without succumbing to niggly injuries. Number 3 is planning your routes. So one of the other reasons for injury occurring is that there is change, significant change. And one of those things that you might significantly change might be the surface in which you're running on. So the London Marathon being on the road, it would obviously lend itself to all of your training being on the road. But if that's not something that you're going to enjoy, then actually think ahead as to whether you're likely to want to go off-road. So if you're starting at 5k, incorporate some off-road in your 5k run, and then you can expand upon the road element and the off-road element when you start hitting 10k and 15k. The biggest mistake is to be running on the road because your race is on the road, and then feeling like you need to move off-road to either increase the miles because of the geography of where you live, or you're having to go off-road because of you're finding it a bit boring being on the road. The forces that go through your leg on the road are completely different to the forces that go through the leg on a different terrain like grass or sand. The ability to push off of a road is significantly easier than pushing off of grass or the sand. So how hard your muscles have to work in your leg will increase as you change those surfaces. And that is a key thing for injury. So to recap, any previous injuries that you've had that you think perhaps you haven't addressed properly or have occurred prior to this during running and you really need to get those sorted out, please make a plan to try and get those looked at first and foremost. Number 2, strength training. It doesn't have to be complex. Perhaps find a professional to give you a real basic program. As I said, lunge, squat, deadlift, calf raise. They're really key strengthening exercises that will really improve your running economy and therefore protect you from injuries as you go forward. And number 3, the training surface. Plan ahead, see where your runs are going to be and plan out where those distances, how those distances can increase without making such significant changes to the terrain in which you are on. I hope those 3 pointers help for this first episode. I'm always available if you'd like to drop me an email to ask any questions. If you're local to me and would like to do a session in person, then please get in touch. I also offer online sessions, so we can do assessment of the injury quite easily online and give you recommendations for rehab exercises. And also we can just do advice or further information to go through that. But I hope to see you for episode 2. Episode 2, we're going to be focusing on your warm-up. So hopefully you warm up, but we need to have a look at exactly how you're doing that and give you a really easy step-by-step warm-up to follow in order to get you ready for those runs.